like to ask you a few questions about project approvals and how that usually is like. So let's first ask the first question. How do I know what kind of approval I need?
So basically, when it comes to construction in Kenya, we normally categorize them in three categories. We have residential projects, we have commercial projects, and we have industrial projects. So when it comes to when maybe I can just define a residential project is your home. Maybe you want to construct a home, that's a residential project. A commercial project is a project that you intend to put up for commercial gain. Is it a multi-story building? Is it a multi-story building with units, apartment units, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom units, 3 bedroom units, bed sitters? Do you have also a situation where you have maybe a building that you have put up for shops? That is also categorized as a commercial structure. When you talk about industrial projects, we talk about basically processing factories, industrial, that is for production.
So how do I get started as a client?
Well, that's a good question. What we do is we invite you to our offices for a discussion so that we get to know a little bit more about your project. And I think the first question I'd be asking is what kind of a project are you planning to set up? Is it, maybe go back to the categories, and then from there we'll be able to now advise you the way forward. Yeah.
So who are the professionals that are required for my approval?
There's a list of consultants that are basically across the board. Whether it's first of all is an architect, then we have a structural engineer, we have a quantity surveyor, and those are the three major consultants that are required across board when it comes to doing the approval process.
Documents will I really need for approval?
Well, that's another good question that I get asked a lot. And the documents that are required, first of all, is your title deed. So it's a copy of your title deed. Apart from that, we have a current land search. So a land search is a document that you get from the sub-county or the lands office. You get it from the lands office. Whichever sub-county that you come from or the county that you come from, you have to get a search done on that land. And the reason we do search is because you need to get to ascertain that the land, the name on the search is concurrent to the name on the title deed. Apart from that, the next document that you require after that is a clearance certificate, what we call a rates clearance certificate. So a rates clearance certificate is a document that is required to show that you actually pay rates for that specific piece of land, and there's a certificate that is paid for. The document that you require is a map. So we call a survey map. It's a block plan, basically a map that you get from Survey of Kenya. They have basically distributed the maps to different sub-counties so that it's easier for you to get your map from the sub-county as opposed to getting it from the main office, Survey of Kenya. So the reason we get the map is because you have to ascertain that the area that is that has been indicated in the area or the size of the land that has been indicated and the dimensions of the land, they are concurrent with the title deed. Other special cases, when it comes to commercial structures, we have a different way we look at it, and I think there are some additional documents that are required. For example, a commercial structure, a commercial approval of a project, we require that the land that you are building in, it is not residential, but is designated as commercial. And in that case, we require a document we call a change of user. What we normally hear say COU, that's a change. Basically, as it just states, you change the use of your land from either residential to commercial or from residential to industrial. And with that comes so many other factors which we'll be able to discuss in a different talk.
Would you let me know how can I get these documents? Because they seem to be quite a number of them. Who do I get them from? Where do I get them from?
Maybe just to some of these documents, just go one by one and just explain how you can get these documents. For the title deed, basically, you are the owner of the land, unless you're not the owner of the land and the transfer of the person you're buying the plot from has not yet transferred the plot from their name to another person's name. You will be required to ensure that the title deed is in your name, so that all documents can correspond that they are in my name, Timothy Minor. They must be reading my name. So the first thing, make sure the title deed is reading your name. And then from there you get the search. The search, there are certain people who normally do search for you. You can easily visit any lands office and be guided on how to make an application to do a search. Basically, I think your architect or the consultant should be able to advise you the best person to do a search. Then after that, we have what we call the rates clearance certificate. So for that one, you have to visit the revenue officer, what we normally call the RO. A revenue officer is normally located at the sub-county planning offices. The officer will be able to go and check on your documents and tell you how much of the rates you are required to pay. In certain cases, when you're trying to get the rates, you might be advised to come with several documents. For example, the copy of your ID, the copy of your KRA PIN, the copy of the search, or the original search. Actually, these days, you're required to bring the original search, the search that you have conducted earlier. You bring it, and then the revenue officer will verify the documents and then now calculate the rates based on the nature of your land, or what you call the land tenure. Land tenure, we mean what kind of land do you have? Do you have a freehold land, or do you have a leasehold land? Maybe in a different discussion, we'll be able to demystify the difference between a leasehold and a freehold land. Once you get the rates from your revenue officer, they will also charge you for the rates clearance certificate. And once you get the rates clearance certificate, from there, you now visit you now visit the lands office in your county or sub-county, or you'll be directed where you can get your map. When you go to the map, when you go to buy your map from the lands office, you're normally asked to pay a certain fee that goes directly to the e-citizen. In that case, you're able to get a map. A map is basically a very big blue paper showing the block number, the location. It also indicates the size of the road that's adjacent to the land, then basically its location, and that is a document that will be very much required. And that's how you get those documents.
Would you let us know how this approval usually runs? What's the process behind it?
So when we come now to the approval process, maybe just to get back, because we've really discussed a lot of things, we had started by discussing the documents that are required. Once you have all those documents, you will require to get an architect, visit an architect, do the drawings, discuss a design, and then do the design, do an architectural drawing for approval purposes. If your project is a multi-story building, which is a residential project, you require to get a structural engineer to do engineering drawings. And the process always starts with the architectural approval, then we proceed to do the structural approval, and then after that you get what a document we normally call a construction permit. And at that point, we've been given a go-ahead by the sub-county to do the construction. Yeah.
Okay, so usually how long does this process take?
So that's a good question, because I think most of the clients either come too early or too late when they are maybe in a very big rush to get into the construction. Others are getting some bank financing, and therefore the approval drawings will be required. Maybe just to demystify, just to break down a bit, for a bungalow, approval should take you around 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. For a mansionette, could take you around 3 weeks or 4 weeks. For a commercial building, that possibly could take you anywhere between 3 months and 6 months, because of the complexity of the approval of a commercial structure. The same for industrial projects. Between 3 months and 6 months, you could be able to get your approval ready and done by your consultants. So with that, that is basically, there's room for discussion on that topic, but those are the durations that are normally there. For us at TMK, because of the relationships that we have with the various sub-counties, and basically the working relation we have with the sub-counties, we normally do the approvals at most, even for commercial structures, at 2 months. So basically what I'm trying to say is that if you visit us, we'll be able to handle your commercial approvals in 2 months and your residential approvals in 2 weeks. latest 3 weeks.
How much is needed? First of all, is there any fees that is needed for these approvals? And maybe can you give us an estimate for how much it would cost for a residential or a commercial project?
So I get this question a lot, and sometimes clients come to the office with an expectation or a preconceived notion of what they're expected to pay, or what they're expected to pay and who they're expected to pay. Just to elaborate, there are we need to separate two categories of payments: the payments to your consultants and the payments to the county. When we talk about payments to consultant, it really depends on the kind of consultant that you have decided to work with, the kind of architect and engineer that you decided to work with. And when we talk about the payment to the county, it is now where there's a bit of a generalization, a bit of a similarity. When we talk about Kiambu County, as per now, we're in 2026, for a residential bungalow, they are ranging for a normal 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom bungalow. Now they are ranging within the Kiambu County, is ranging around 65,000 for an approval, or 65 to 70,000 for an approval of a bungalow. When you come to mansionettes, it's ranging anywhere above 90,000. So I think anything between 90,000 and above, 90,000 or 20,000, that is something in Kiambu County. Those are the normal rates, unless your structure is very big. I want to make a disclaimer that approval is basically calculated based on the plinth area or the size of your project. So if you have a very big project, your payments will be more. So anything between 150 square meters to 300 square meters is a relatively sizable house, not a very big house. And that for a bungalow, you'll get anything around 70,000 in approval payments. That is for both architectural and structural fees calculated by the sub-county planner. And basically with that, you're able to pay that separately. When it comes to something like the mansionettes, anything between 300 square meters and 400 or 500 square meters, that is where we have a payment of about 90,000 to 120,000 in Kiambu sub-county. In Nairobi and Kajiado, those payments vary widely, but at the same time, they don't differ too far off from those payments. When you talk about other counties, like in Nyeri County, in Meru County, those are the outskirts, out of the CBD. Payments are much lower. Much lower. Maybe the sub-county planners can explain to us how they do the calculation, but I think in a bid to be able to encourage more people to register their projects with the county, generate a bit of income in the rural areas. When we talk about Nyeri may not be necessarily entirely rural, but many people do not construct using approved drawings. So those counties are still trying to encourage people to do their approvals so that it can generate revenue to their counties. In Nairobi and Kiambu, the fees are significantly more expensive because the demand here is very high. Also, there's so many people constructing, and basically the enforcement here in Kiambu, Nairobi, Kajiado is very high. That means when we talk about enforcement, it means that inspectors on the ground are really moving around and ensuring people are compliant in their projects. Yeah.
All right. Is it very necessary to get this approval before I start my project, or can I start and then get the approvals coming on the way? What would you say?
So I get this question quite often. I think I would like to stand from a moral or an obligatory point of view. I will give it my most important, or basically obligatory point of view. Being a consultant and a professional, it is very important, very important for each and every person who is intending to do a project to get the necessary approvals for your project. And the reason I say that is because once you get your approvals, you ensure that the drawings are up to par. You're also ensuring that you're compliant with the county. Also, to ensure that the drawings, that whatever you're building is going to be safe. That means the county has also has an obligation to say that this drawing that we passed was, or we are able to give an approval for, was a good drawing, and the drawings were satisfactory and met the necessary standards. So Many people avoid to do the approval because maybe they think it's expensive. I mean, if you're doing a commercial structure and you're charged anything to do with, for a commercial structure, you're charged anything to do with 300 or 200,000. You'll basically think that maybe if you grease a few hands on the ground, you might be able to get away with it. But you might be getting yourself into a bigger hole than you may think. So I would encourage every client to get into being a compliant customer. Ensure that you're compliant, and if you have any challenges, the people in the sub-county and us as professionals, we're here to help. It's not that expensive, but it helps you to go a long way to ensure that you're compliant and your buildings are safe. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. And that's how we do approvals in Kiambu County. We really appreciate how detailed that was. Thank you.
Thank you so much.